Hello and welcome everyone to today's tutorial on learning C++ from the scratch. In today's tutorial, we are going to talk about loops in C++. So what is loops? Well, loops simply mean repetition, where sometimes when we are programming, we need to repeat a line of code multiple times. Like maybe sometimes we need to repeat a line of code for about maybe 3 times, like this one over here, or maybe 10 times. We need to repeat a line of code or a process of code for 10 times, or maybe 100 of times. And as you can already imagine, this 100 line of code, like typing this, will take a lot of time and effort and also a boring process. Using loops, we can instead of writing 100 line of code, like maybe this example will print numbers from 1 to 100. Using loops, we are only going to need to write this short code over here, as you can see, which only consume us 5 line of code. And by the way, the shorter our code is, the smaller our program is. And even if our code is more than 100 line of code, like for example, maybe 1000 line of code, it will stay like this code over here will stay 5 lines. It will not increase. What change is only in what the condition inside here, our loop, where we put a condition inside here, where we are saying that we are going to repeat the code until it reach 1000. Where when we were having 100 line of code, the condition was until it reached 100. But when we change the condition to 1000, now it's going to print 1000 line of code or repeat a line of code 1000 times instead of 100 times. So that's how loops are powerful, where it make writing a program faster, easier, and improve its performance. And actually, loops have multiple types, like how we have multiple types of if condition, like we have, or the branches, I mean, like we can have the if condition to create branches, or we have the switch statement or the ternary statement. All of them do the same thing, which is creating branches in our program. Loops also have multiple types. And here we are like in this tutorial, we are going to talk about 3 types, even though there's a fourth one. But the fourth one, which is called for each, like we are going to discuss it after we learn something called array. So currently we're only going to learn 3 types of loops. The first one is the while loop, the second one is the do while loop, and the third one is the for loop. Now here's a program that print numbers from 1 to 10, where if we run our program, as you can see, it will print numbers 1 to 10, where each number are printed in different line. But actually, as we said before, we can make this simpler using loops in C++. But to use loops in C++, there are 3 things that we need to tell our computer. The first thing is the starting point. At what point are we going to start printing? So in this case, it will be number 1. We are going to start printing at number 1. So this is going to be our starting point. The second thing is until what point or until when are we going to keep repeating? Well, in this case, we are going to keep repeating or printing until it reaches the number 10. So our second thing that we need to tell our computer is that we are going to keep repeating until it reaches the number 10. Finally, what variable change in each repetition and by how much? In this case, we are going to create a variable, of course, and we are going to use these variables to print something different in each loop. Where in the first loop or repetition, we are going to print the number 1, but the second time, we are going to print number 2, and in the third repetition, we are going to print the number 3. So, this variable will change in each repetition. And by how much does this variable change? As you can see over here, 1 jumped to number 2 and from 2 to 3. So it changed by adding 1. We add 1 to 1 and it becomes 2. And we add 1 to number 2, so it becomes 3. So it changed by adding 1 or by increasing it by 1. So let's start using our loop instead of this one. So first, we need to tell our our program or our C++, the starting point, as we said, by creating a variable, I'm going to name it I, and store inside it the starting point, which is in this case the number 1. Secondly, we are going to say the keyword while, or type the keyword while and open a brackets. Here, inside this bracket, we are going to tell the computer until when or what point are we going to keep repeating. In this case, I'm going to say that we are going to keep repeating until or while I is less than or equal to 10. So it's going to keep repeating while I is less than or equal to 10. But if it is like higher than 10, maybe 11 or 12, it will stop repeating the code. Now, what process are we repeating? Well, we are repeating printing out the number I. Well, where in the first time, I value will be 1 in the first repetition. And finally, by how much does I change in each repetition? In this case, I change by adding one number to it, where we are going to say that at the end, we are going to add 1 to our I variable, so that after printing the number 1 over here, it's going to print 1. Here, I variable are going to change, where I, which is currently 1, will increase by 1. So, at the end of this repetition, I will become 2. Or what's stored inside I is going to be 2. And when it reaches this point, it is going again to check the condition inside this loop and ask, is I less than 10 or equal? And currently in this point, I is going to be 2. Is 2 less than or equal to 10? Yes, it is. So it is going to print I again. And this time it is going to print 2 instead of 1. And then increase the value of I to 3 instead of 2. And then check again the condition. Is 3 less than or equal to 10? If yes, keep repeating the code inside our while loop until it print the number 10 over here. After printing the number 10, it will increase the number 10 by 1 and become 11. And check, is 11 less than or equal to 10? Of course not. So in this case, it will stop repeating the code inside it and exit the loop. And if we run our program, as you can see, we are not like printing or repeating cout 10 times, but what you will see is that it will print number from 1 to 10. And if we want to print numbers from 1 to 100 instead, what we are going to change is on this condition, where we are going to say that while I is less than or equal to 100, keep repeating printing the I variable. So if we run our program again, this time it will keep repeating or printing numbers from 1 to 100, as you can see over here. What about if we want to keep repeating until 1000, where we are only going to increase the number over here? And if you run our program, it will keep printing until it reaches the number 1000. So what if we want like to start printing at different point, like maybe we want to start printing at the number 5? Well, we just need to change the starting point over here. And now if we run our program, as you can see, it will start at number 5 instead of number 1. What about if we want to print even numbers from 2 to 10? Like we want to say 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Well, we want to print numbers like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Now let's ask ourselves, what is the starting point? The starting point here is the number 2. So we are going to change the starting point here by 2. Until when are we going to keep printing? Until it reaches the number 10, so this will not change. Finally, what change in each printing, like by how much? In this case, as you can see, number increased by 2 instead of 1. So what we're going to change here is increase the number by 2 in each repetition. And now, I'm going to delete this one. if we run our program, what you will see is that it is going to print numbers from 2 to 10. So now, let's see how our loop runs step by step. Here we have an example. This example are going to print numbers from 1 to 5. So, as we said before, there are three things that we need to tell our computer. The starting point, where we said before that we are going to print 1 to 5, so our starting point will be the number 1. And until when are we going to print something? In this case, we are going to print until we reach the number 5. So the second condition here is until we reach the number 5. So, and while I is less than 5. And finally, between each printing, by how much does the thing that we print increase? So we said that first we're going to print 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. So each printing increased by 1. So we have here a step that increased the number by 1 in each loop. And now, here in the first line, what we did is that we create a variable and store the starting point inside it, which is the number 1. So now inside I, we have the number 1. Secondly, we start our loop structure over here, where this three line of code over here going to repeat itself while I is less than 5. So in this case, is the value inside I less than 5? Yes, 1 is what is stored inside I, which is less than 5. So it is going to run the code inside the while. So like what's inside this curly bracket is belong to while. So first it is going to run the code, which print the value inside I. In this case, what's the value that are stored inside I is 1, as you can see over here. So it is going to print 1. Then it's going to jump to the next instruction, which tells that the current value of I, what's stored inside I currently is 1. Increase 1 to it. So the value of I will become 1 plus 1, which is equal to 2. So now what's inside the variable I will change from 1 to 2 at this step over here. And the moment that we reach the end of the loop, as you can see over here, this curly bracket indicates the end of the while loop, it is going to jump to the starting point again, which is the condition, and check, is I less than 5 or is the value inside I less than 5? Yes, 2 is what is stored inside I currently and it is less than 5. So, if this condition is true, it is going again to run the code inside this curly bracket. So it is going to print the value of I at this moment. At this moment, what's inside I is 2. So it is going to print 2 this time instead of 1. And then increase the value of I by 1, so 2 will become 3, and end the loop over here. And again, we'll get back to the starting point. Is the value inside I at this moment less than or equal to 5? Yes, 3 is less than 5. So again, it is going to print the value of I, which is 3. Then increase the value of I by 1, which is 4, and end the loop over here. And again, going back to the starting point. This time, I change from 3 to 4. Is 4 less than or equal to 5? Yes, it is. So again, it is going to print the value inside I, which is 4, and then increase 4 by 1, which is going to become 5, and end the loop over here. Now, it is going to start checking again. The question is I less than or equal to 5? It is not less than 5. 5 is not less than 5, but it is equal to 5. And the question here is I less than or equal to 5? Yes, it is equal to 5. So it is again going to run the code over here, which print the I value, which is 5, and then increase the value of I by 1, and it will become 6. And end the loop over here and get back to the starting point again and check the condition. Now, the condition is asking, is the current value of I less than 5 or equal? No, it is not less than 5. And it's not even also equal to 5. So in this case, the condition here is false. And at the moment that the condition here becomes false, our loop will stop repeating the code inside it and get out of the loop. And here our loop are going to end its repeating process. So that's what's happened when we create our while loop. So that's how while loop works step by step, where at first we define the starting point, which in this case we define that we are going to start printing at the number 2, and then define the condition that tell the computer until when are we going to repeat printing the value I over here, which in this case we are going to keep printing until I become bigger than 10. And then finally we define by how much I increase in each step. So this like loop over here print the even numbers from 2 to 10. And I said even numbers, so that means that we are going to print 2, then 4, then 6, then 8. And in each step, we increase I by 2. So this like line over here increase the I by 2 in each step. So if you run our program over here, what you will see is that it print the even numbers from 2 to 10. And at the moment it hit the number 10, it stopped printing because the condition turned to false. And that's the while loop simply. But actually, we said that we have different types of loops, and there are another type of loop which we call the do-while loop instead of while loop. And the way that we write the do-while is quite similar to the while loop over here. So to write a do-while loop, we simply take this head over here, the head of the loop, we call this the head, take this to the bottom over here. So that's the first step. And then end it with semicolon. And put in the place of it the keyword do. That's it. Now we turn our loop from while loop to the do while. And they currently in this like this loop do the same thing that we did before, where it print the even numbers from 2 to 10. So they are like similar currently. So what is the difference between the while loop and the do while? Well, let's like put it back to its old structure, which is the while loop, and see something different. Like for example, we start that I start with the value 2. So when the loop check the condition, 2 is less than 10. So it see that the condition is true, so it start running the code inside the while loop. And the thing is that sometimes maybe the condition is start, like for example, now what's in stored inside I from the start is number 12. And our while loop will check, is I less than 10 or equal? No, I is not less than 10 because 12 is bigger than 10. So it will not run the code inside the while loop, not even once. Not even once. If we try to run our program, what we will see is that it didn't print anything over here because the condition started with the false statement from the start. So while loop will not run anything if the condition from the start is false. But what if we have the do while structure? So let's turn it into the do while structure and put it do over here and then end it with semicolon. So the condition is similar, while it is less than or equal to 10, and its starting point is 12. Well, the difference between the do while and the while loop is that even if the condition is false from the start, it will run the code inside the while loop at least once. So inside our loop over here, it will print the I value, which is in this case, as you can see, the number 12. So it ran the code at least once. And the thing is that in programming, our compiler or our program, let's say program, but like to be more specified, there's a compiler that read our program, it read our code line by line. And currently, it will read that I value is 12. And then the first code that it run is printing the I value. Do the code, or let's say that first it do the code inside the while loop, or it hit the printing first, then check the condition. So checking the condition come at the end, but before the condition come at the start over here. So when the condition come at the start, first it check the condition, and if the condition is false, it will not run the code below it. But when we turn it to do while, it first hit the printing instruction and didn't check the condition. The condition come at the end. So in this case, it didn't know that the condition is false yet. So it ran the code at least once. And so that's quite the difference between the while loop and the do while. So while loop will not run anything if the statement is false from the start, but the do while will run the code at least once, even if the condition is false from the start, because the condition come at the end of our loop. And that's it for today's tutorial. Thank you very much for watching and see you next time.